Hey friends, it's Laura with Laura's Handmade Haven. Welcome or welcome back. I'm so glad you joined me today. We're continuing on our sew along for the delightful desert baby quilt. This week we're going to be working on the moth block, which goes right up here in the layout that's suggested in the pattern, but you can put it wherever you want. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on that in our layout video in a few weeks. We have just a few more blocks to go. We're getting so close. I have all my pieces cut out for the moth block. So we're just going to skip right to the sewing machine and get started. All right, so all my pieces are cut and laying on my design board here on my extension table. For anyone who has not joined me before, I am using a Juki DX7 with a 1/4 inch piecing foot. I do have my stitch length set at 2.2, which you can see on my display there. And I do use Metler Silk Finish 100% cotton thread. So basically, I'm just going to start constructing the moth block. And as you can see, I have all the pieces laid out on my design board in alphabet order. And we will just start constructing the moth block. If you're following along, we are on page 21 in the pattern booklet. I am starting with figure 1. Now you guys know that I typically follow the pictures and I don't read the instructions unless I have to. So the first thing we're going to do is just start constructing the body unit. And now remember that we will be trimming these pieces down. So they're not going to fit on the actual body until we trim the antenna down. So I'm just going to do a couple stitch and flip corners here to get that cute little butterfly body, to give it more of a point on the end. Just because I do like being a little efficient with my sewing, I am going to go ahead and start working on figure 2 a little bit. And we'll go kind of back and forth between figure 2 and figure 1, just so I don't have to cut my thread as often. I like doing that just because it helps ensure that the machine does not come unthreaded. Okay, so now we're going to attach our antenna to the body. I do need to trim the antenna down, so I'm going to go do that real quick. Now that the antennae are trimmed, I can go ahead and stitch those onto the body to complete that body unit for our moth. Now we are going to start constructing our wings, and just remember that we're doing a left wing and a right wing. So it's important to keep those pieces kind of straight in your head because they are opposites, because, you know, left and right. So what I do is I'm just going to lay these pieces out on my extension table just to keep it straight in my mind that I am doing the left wing and the right wing, and you'll see me do that several times throughout the construction of the wings. Now the third color, or the outside band that goes around our mouth wings, those are going to start with a stitch and flip corner. So a couple of those actually. So we are just adding those on, and you'll just see me going back and forth between the left and right wing. Just make sure that you pay attention to where those little spots are at, and that should be on the outer part of your wing. So just pay attention to that. Just go slow. Make sure you lay it out and keep it straight in your mind for which one is left and which one is right. So we're going to do a stitch and flip corner, and that's going to be the inside of our wing that attaches to the body unit. So just keep those straight and make sure that you know what's the inside and what's the outside, basically. And then we are going to continue constructing the lower portion of our wing. And again, keep those spots straight in your mind. Make sure you keep your left and right laid out on your extension table or your design board or somewhere where you can just make sure you can remind yourself which one's left and which one's right. Our top portions of the upper wing units are completed at this point, and we are moving on to figure 5. This is, again, page 21 in the pattern booklet. I'm just going to continue constructing our lower wing units, and then we'll get our wings together and finish up our moth. There really aren't too many tricky things to do with the moth, just keeping your left and right wing units straight in your mind, I guess, and just watching your angles, just follow the pattern really closely, lay it out, check it before you cut it, all those things, and you'll be fine. Now, this outer wing portion, I would say this is probably one of the trickiest steps. This is figure 8, and I would just suggest you lay these pieces out on a design board or your extension table or somewhere, and stitch them and flip them and check them before you cut them, because this is definitely the trickiest part of this for me. But remember that I'm definitely anglely challenged. But this is probably the one portion of these moth wings that I find the most difficult. None of it's like super difficult. You can do it. It's no big deal. But this is definitely where you may run into some issues if you just don't double check yourself on these angles. All right, so it is time, finally, yay. We're gonna stitch our upper and lower wing units together. I have not pressed these. I will watch my seams and decide which way they need to lay, and just make sure they don't get twisted when I'm sewing that outer wing portion onto them. And yeah, we'll just sew this through, keeping your 1/4 inch seam, and then doing a little finger press before we add our outer wing portion. All right, so now we're gonna sew our wings onto our body, and we are almost there. Oh my goodness. Okay, time to press and reveal. We have it. Our beautiful moth block is done, and it's ready to be set into the layout for the delightful desert baby quilt. I am so excited how this turned out. It is so cute, so cheery, so happy. I honestly could envision like an entire quilt just with these little moths. I mean, wouldn't that be adorable? Oh my goodness. Yes. So the only thing I just want to remind you is make sure you check your angles, because you will be doing opposites on the left and the right wings, because you have 2 wings and they're going to be opposite directions. So just check that. Make sure you go slow, check those angles, double check your piecing, and just make sure that you have a great result with your beautiful moth block. I hope if you're sewing along with me that you are just as pleased with yours as I am with mine. Hey, until next time, find joy in all you do. Carve out some time for crafting and creating. And remember, it's always better when you make stuff up.